The drowning dog, trapped in the deep pit, struggles to climb up, but kept sliding back into the water. The poor dog accidentally fell into a deep pit. The water in the pit was extremely filthy with garbage floating everywhere. Emitting a stench that made people cover their noses, the dog tried to climb up on its own, its limbs desperately grasping the slope, but the slope was too slippery. It kept sliding back into the water. The dog looked around helplessly. At that moment, a man drove by with his family. The dog's pleading eyes looked at the vehicle, hoping someone would save it. The man understood the dog's plea. He quickly stopped the car and fetched a sturdy rope. He firmly tied one end to the fence on the bank, carefully walking down the slope. The slope was steep and slippery. A slight misstep could cause him to fall into the water. He held the rope tightly, while pulling the dog up with all of his strength. The dog's weight exceeded his expectations. The man was exhausted and out of breath. After much effort, the dog was successfully rescued. Perhaps knowing it drank a lot of dirty water, it eagerly ate grass by the roadside to ease its stomach discomfort. The man decided to take the dog with him. It was a beautiful Labrador. It was probably lost from its owner. No one knows how it fell into the pit. In the unfamiliar environment, the dog seemed very reserved. It lay there motionless, its eyes full of unease and vigilance. To reduce the dog's wariness, the man brought some dumplings to entice it. It was clear that it really wanted to eat, its eyes fixed on the food, desperately licking its lips. Perhaps dreaming of the scene of falling into the water during the day, the dog suddenly twitched and trembled in its sleep. That terrifying experience became an unshakable shadow. Soon the dog became good friends with the family's pet cat. They became inseparable buddies. The man named the dog Paul. He hoped it would like its new name. When taking Paul out for walks, it felt both familiar and strange. Perhaps these familiar scenes brought back memories of its previous owner taking it for walks. After returning home, it lay in a corner, feeling depressed. Its eyes lost their sparkle. It hung its head low. Perhaps it missed its owner very much. The man enjoyed playing with Paul. He put a bone in front of Paul, but it didn't eat it. The little guy was so anxious, it spun around, it stretched its head forward eagerly. Its mouth almost touched the bone, but it didn't dare to grab it forcefully. During the days with Paul, the man discovered that it particularly loved eating melon. It couldn't stop eating piece after piece. Although Paul was well behaved, it was also very greedy. When the man wasn't home, its gluttonous nature took over again. It secretly licked the pet cat's canned food clean. Facing owners scolding, it hid to the side with its head down. Its ears drooped, not daring to look directly, as if avoiding that stern gaze. Its caught-in-the-act look was really funny. Paul looked very unhappy after being scolded. It hung its head low, lay in the corner without a sound, sulking alone. A month later, the dog had gained a lot of weight, over 5 pounds more than before. Now it has completely adapted to its new home. No longer as cautious as when it first arrived, it sniffs around the neighborhood, curious about everything around. Paul loves chewing on big bones. Every time it gets a bone, it takes it aside and gnaws on it slowly. Now it no longer tucks its tail when eating. Instead, it eats confidently and contentedly. Bread, just taken out of the bag, it grabs it instantly. What a greedy little guy. While the man was cleaning the fridge, Paul sneakily grabbed a piece of duck to eat in the room. It got scolded again. It lowered its head, not daring to look at the man, like a child who did something wrong. The man took Paul back to the countryside. For the first time it felt the joy of freedom. It walked happily around the stream, excited splashes on the water surface. In this cool stream, the man and the dog share this simple and pure joy. Even getting themselves all dirty doesn't bother them. The man shaved off all of Paul's fur. The once furry Paul became smooth and hairless. The look was quite funny. It was like a wild horse released from its reins. Without the burden of fur, it ran more happily and freely. Paul's appetite increased day by day. It was given a plate full of dumplings and dog food. It dived into the bowl, eating heartily. Paul was overjoyed to see snow for the first time. It sniffed curiously with its nose, feeling the chill and unfamiliar scent of the snow. The man started a snowball fight with it. An accidental rescue back then gave Paul a carefree and happy life. In the days to come, Paul and the man will continue to write their beautiful story. This love and companionship will continue forever.